In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome to a place at the table. As the year races on, I'll be looking to the future, specifically at Africa's artificial intelligence imperative.
I probably have a lot in common with you on this, Zumah. However, whereas you're looking to the future, I'm looking to the past. In specific terms, the tragedy of the Pfizer Trovan trials, and saying we need answers.
Sounds like it's time for some soul searching. I'll be taking a broader look at the issue of love. As someone once sang, that's the way love goes, or is it?
You go, girl. It's the love month after all. Love is at the heart of relationships and the family at the heart of society. My advocacy is titled, The Home Makes Up the Society.
Makes sense, Aisha. I'm also addressing a foundational issue, youth unemployment. You could say that if we don't get this right, we don't have a future.
Love and relationships, our past and the future, the youth and AI. Unless you're choosing to play ostrich, we should have your attention by now. The world as we know it was changed the day China unveiled DeepSeek, an AI model developed with remarkable efficiency and open source availability. In simple parlance, a software where anybody can contribute to its improvement and development. This has taken the conversation about Africa's role in an AI-dominated future to a new dimension. This development not only showcases what's possible with limited resources, but also signals a shift in global AI dynamics, presenting both challenges and opportunities for Africa. DeepSeek's success has shown us that high impact doesn't necessarily require vast resources, and that with strategic innovation, Africa can leapfrog without being hindered by economic constraints. The open source approach means African developers and researchers can access cutting-edge technology and customize it for local needs, while contributing to global AI development. But are we truly ready? Are we equipping our youth with the education necessary to not just be consumers, but creators? Are we fostering an environment where African developers can contribute to AI models that are culturally relevant to our unique needs and contexts? Are we harnessing our abundant natural resources, like cobalt, to build local AI hardware ecosystems, ensuring that the benefits of this technological revolution are shared within the continent? Or will we, once again, find ourselves on the sidelines, spectators in the technological revolution that should be shaping our destiny? Africa possesses a vibrant youth population and a wealth of untapped potential. It's time to shed the shackles of perceived limitations and embrace the possibilities that lie within our reach. It's time to leverage our communities, foster collaboration, and build a future that reflects our unique values and aspirations. DeepSeek is more than just a technological marvel. It's a strategic opportunity. It's a blueprint for innovation under constraints, a testament to the power of collaboration and an inspiration that we can harness our human and natural resources to not only prepare for an AI-dominated future, but to actively shape it and ensure it reflects our unique cultural and social landscapes. This is our time, Africa. Let us rise to the challenge.
DeepSeek developed an AI model with the fraction of the budget Silicon Valley does. And in the process, at least as of yesterday, they've wiped out over almost $2 trillion from the market capitalizations of some big tech companies in the US. And it gives us, a roadmap. Last week, Bright was talking about how do we own the future. And I remember that one of the things I said was that we could adopt the Chinese model, which was basically borrowing, I don't want to use the word stealing, borrowing technology from the West, reverse engineer it, adapt it,
Customize it,
make it simple, and then basically just give it to the world. And that was exactly what they did in this case. I mean, they took some of this technology. They already knew a lot of what OpenAI was doing. They took the chips from NVIDIA, all right, which they were not supposed to get in the first place. They studied it, reverse engineered it, and then they realized that they could actually do this without the heavy investments in data farms, data centers, and a lot of all those huge investments, that Silicon Valley was doing. So essentially, the roadmap for Africa is the same model. That is, we don't really need to have all these massive data centers or these massive investments. We can actually leverage on improving or innovating existing technologies and use that to leverage. Because I asked myself, if a bunch of, I understand there are students, that did this. I mean, if a bunch of young people with a very low budget can achieve this and wipe off, trillions
in less than 2 weeks,
and like that, I mean, why can't we do that in Nigeria? Why can't your daughter? Why can't my daughter? Why can't, Bright?
I have a daughter too, by the way.
Yes. All right.
She's not going to be left out.
So why can't our kids, who we know are technologically versed, I mean, Aisha spoke about a 3-year-old last week.
That locked her parents
and her family safety.
Control, yeah.
So we can do this, and I think that's the roadmap that we must adopt.
I was going to say, Nigeria and China have a lot in common.
I agree.
A lot. I'm thinking back to when the West were doing their movies and saying it was only on celluloid you could shoot movies, and then Nollywood came with VHS, and then we showed that it could be done in a cheaper way and then populate everything. But are we ready? That is the question. I said, are we ready, or we are just content to guzzle oil, just sit down, hold on to it as a lifeline, while the rest of the world is busy expanding their dreams, their frontier, and getting ready and taking over? I am tired of us playing catch up all the time, because we have all that it's necessary, all the ingredients to excel. We were talking about the vaccine and US withdrawing their aid and all that. And to me, it was like it would spur us to do better. But I mean, it's been rescinded. But you see, it is our time. We have the populace, we have the funds, we have everything. But the people that we have in Africa, and I'm not narrowing down to only Nigeria, are not thinking fast enough.
So, but the first thing that caught my attention was where you said they didn't have to use vast resources. Then I'm thinking about, when we talk about resources, is it just only about money? I mean, the training of those young people, it takes a lot. Where you have countries or society or families that are focused on grooming their children, making sure they get expensive, lessons, different things, curricula, the way they play, what they watch, what they feed us.
Intentional.
That is it. Intentional play. So it's a whole lot of resources beyond just the money that we see, where other people are busy having fun on TikTok. And I think we need to look. I've been thinking, in the next maybe 20, 30 years, we're going to have a TikTok generation that we're thinking, what happened to this whole thing? It's a mess in that place where parents are bringing children. Is this quick, get views, get whatever it is, make some quick money without really developing. So when we talk about these resources, it might just be, we're seeing the $5 million that was given, $5 million or a little bit of money, but there's a whole lot that has gone, into what they're doing. And my question is, what are we doing to groom the next generation to get them out there? And then as I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about, for those who were part of this DeepSeek team, they needed computers, right? They must have used computers.
Absolutely.
Well, their colleagues in Nigeria have been killed by the Nigerian police just for holding a computer.
Yes.
So we live in a country where For a young person, just you having your laptop with you, doing something, you're killed. You're
trying to research
EFCC will come into
yourself,
the place, and then they will say you're doing one thing or the other. You're traumatized. When you're dealing with that trauma, there's no how you're going to be creative. We don't understand how we are affected. So a Nigerian comes out every day. The fact that they can dodge, if they're driving, they can dodge the potholes between their houses and their offices is the same as the investment, you know, it's the same as the innovation of others who have created something. So it depends on where are we wasting our energy. We don't have 24/7 electricity. We can't think the things. We're focused on surviving
So we
rather
can't
than
innovate.
we can't innovate. We can't do, you know, any of that.
I get emotional when it comes to this topic that has to do with, you know, just how everybody else is moving forward and we're not, right?
Yeah,
You said, are we ready? The truth is, we're not ready.
We're not.
Ready begins when we first of all have one voice. Ready begins where we understand that there's a race for dominance. It's a global race for dominance. That's why America is freaking out. Like, wait, what's going on? Right? We don't even know what Russia is doing. Do you know what they're doing? We have no idea. We're just waking up in the morning and
Even the Middle East.
doing TikTok dance and all of that. Ready begins when, you know, we understand that we need to move from consumption mentality to production mentality. We're still, as Africans, we're still running. Our presidents, our leaders are still running to Europe,
With cops.
lined up with cops to beg for support and aids.
With their fancy jets.
Right? So, are we ready?
No, we're not.
Hell
not.
nah, we're not.
Season the day is about being alert to time and chance. One man's wasted opportunity is another man's breakthrough.
And unfortunately, one man's tragedy could be another man's exploitation. In 1996, Nigeria faced a severe meningitis epidemic with over 100,000 cases and nearly 12,000 deaths. During this period, Pfizer, a US pharmaceutical company, attempted to launch a new antibiotic called Trovan. Although Trovan had been tested on adults, it had not been tested on children. Early tests on adults revealed serious side effects, including liver problems and cartilage abnormalities. Despite this, Pfizer decided to test Trovan on children, selecting 200 participants aged 3 months to 18 years. A month later, 11 children had died, and many others were paralyzed. In December 2000, the Washington Post published exposés accusing Pfizer of causing the deaths and disabilities of multiple children through unethical trials without informed consent from parents. This led to protests in northern Nigeria in 2001. A Nigerian government investigation found Pfizer responsible for ethical violations and the resulting health issues among trial participants. Several lawsuits were filed against Pfizer, leading to a 2009 out-of-court settlement. Under the settlement agreement, Kano State agreed to dismiss all Trovan-related cases, while Pfizer admitted no wrongdoing. Pfizer agreed to pay $35 million in compensation to victims, $30 million to the Kano State government, and $10 million for legal fees. Fast forward to 2025, 29 years after the trial, and 16 years after the settlement agreement, victims have yet to receive adequate compensation. A new Central TV documentary in December 2024 interviewed several victims who reported not receiving the promised $175,000 each. Some received only 2 million naira, the equivalent of $13,000 in 2009. Key questions arise. Was the Kano State government paid the entire $35 million for victims by Pfizer? If so, why have the victims not been compensated? Number 2, did the 6-man committee on verification and payments of compensation to victims led by retired Justice Belgore, did it conclude his assignment? If yes, can we see the report? To all concerned, there's a need for public accountability here. The failure of Pfizer and the Kano state government to adequately compensate the victims is a grave injustice. Denying them their full compensation is akin to victimizing them all over again. We need answers.
1996, I was 23 years old, and of course, living in Kano. And, you know, Lord have mercy. I grew up in the ghetto in Kano. I grew up in a place called Kwenahodo. Every year, we had this epidemic, and people would die. And for some of us, even when we're kids, is the fact that when people die and they're doing this sadaqah, you know, they give waina, they give, sometimes that's the food we eat. And so as children, we just look forward, oh, somebody has died, and it's just opportunity for you to eat, because you wouldn't have food any other time. And every year it was normal. If this house, all the houses on the streets, they will bury someone. It was normal in Kwenahodo. Every year it's either meningitis, it is either cholera, or whatever it is, it keeps happening every year when this epidemic, and nobody cared. Why? Because we're poor. I don't know whether it was this particular year that my sister had her own, you know, meningitis and all of that. And it just keeps going on because nobody cared. And you see this whole thing where it's a company, it's a foreign company, and you expect that Nigeria will stand with the victims and for the victims, but it hasn't. And if we go down, you probably might find out that someone somewhere decided to connive with some people and deny the victims, you know. And recently, I just couldn't even watch it, even when News Central, you know, put out that whole thing, because it brings out the pain of where we are coming from. And sometimes when people see us fight, we are not just fighting for us. I had friends who never survived. I had that we grew up together, they died. They're not alive. So for seeing, when we speak, we're not just speaking for us. We're speaking for just my friends who just couldn't make it. When you're poor in this country, you're nameless, you're voiceless, you're faceless. You're not seen as a human being. We buried every year. It was which house? Every year, every house we lose someone, and we buried our friends, our siblings, our cousins, our whatever. And yet there are people out there who are feeding off what people. And you know, Yinka, what pains me the most? It hasn't changed. I was an angry teenager. I was an angry young person. I hated Nigeria because of what it did to us. And today there are children also who are hating us. And we are hopeless and have not been able to do anything. So for that Pfizer story, for someone who grew up in Kwenahodo, it's personal to me.
Wow, that's too emotional. I can't even speak. I'm like, it speaks to the sanctity of life and how the people who are meant to protect the people up there don't care. You said we need answers. Will we get answers? There's so much coming at people, so much. People are trying to grapple with this and that and the other. So when they don't get answers, they're going to move on until the next epidemic, until the next injustice, until the next thing, and then people are dying undocumented, and everyone just moves on. And somehow you can't blame them for moving on. But there must be accountability. Somehow. Why do we have a government? Why do we have a government if you cannot protect your people?
It's quite sad how the Trojan, is a Trovan?
You know, I wrote Trovan equals Trojan. You know, I wrote it here because, like, hidden.
How the Trovan situation turned out. And there are so many layers to the situation, starting with using people as guinea pigs. There are guidelines of procedure for trials. It has to be in a controlled environment. There are certain conditions that need to be met. None of those were met in that process. And also the issue of parental consent, because kids are not in a position to give consent.
Make decisions.
So in reality, this was abuse. So beyond the consequences, the side effects of the trial, there is also the issue of abuse and assault on the children. I would also like to go back to the fact that, this general immunization of kids, I know while we were growing up, they're probably randomly walking on the street, someone is carrying you and say, open your mouth, polio.
Yeah, we did, we did it.
I know it's a bit better now. I know while we were in school, they would just tell us some people are coming, punch, you just get immunized.
One of the reasons why I avoid Twitter, I avoid all these blogs, because I don't want to see these things. I know I dedicated most of my life solving a problem that I saw, because I can't just walk away from something, right? So I avoid it just for my sanity's sake, because I don't understand why people who we looked up to and we give them our votes to protect us, to guide us, are the ones stealing from us. And they will use that money to send their kids to the best schools in the world, while kids are dying. I had a project at Maiduguri. I was there for 2 months. I was at the IDP camp for 2 months. And basically what we were trying to do was to get data of everybody so that Central Bank could do some kind of project to empower them. And while I was there, they said there was a soccer way. Some guy had a contract to dig soccer ways, and he said I saw 60 something, like people would give birth and throw the baby into a soccer way. I was traumatized. So my question is this going to be one of those advocacy that we talk about, and then next week we jump on another advocacy, or are we going to actually do something about this?
Because we know that there was a hospital that was built. Pfizer built a children's hospital.
Is that part of the compensation?
Yes, that was part of the compensation.
Yeah,
we know that lawyers were paid. So the lawyers got paid.
Yeah, so they didn't have any, they didn't bear...
So the only people that suffered here
are the victims.
Are the victims.
It happened by writing to them or whatever.
Yes.
Did they pay?
And if you
because
paid,
the
where are your
tragedy of it
receipts?
will be that Pfizer will probably come out and tell you that they paid everything and who they paid. Meanwhile,
I think that's the best way to go. Because if you want to go through Nigeria, it will be long.
Did you pay?
Let's have a lot of Twitter people go and be tweeting at Pfizer back to back. That video from News Central, that video should be attached.
Where just demand for answers is not responded to, the silence ought to be deafening.
Well, I hear you loud and clear, Yinka. Perhaps the problem originates from the fact that few of us are attuned to the language of our hearts. The month of love is here again, but what happens when the day February 14 ends? Do those feelings suddenly disappear? Do we go back to the insecurities we feel when a loved one turns his or her attention to someone else, albeit innocently? No greater love than when a man lays down his life for his brother is what my Bible tells me. Does this still hold sway today? A lot of people are cynical, having gone through the ringer in the name of love. They say love is overrated. Love is about being there through thick and thin. What has receiving the latest phone, designer bag, brand new car, and even top up for your phone line got to do with the expression of love, I ask? If they are given, all well and good, but if not, what then? How about simply spending time together and discussing common goals? I see that these days people are together, but they are not together, if you get my drift. People don't talk anymore. Reminds me of the popular boy band Boys to Men. Water runs dry. Go and listen to it. How about sparing a thought for that loved person who has just lost someone and going to spend time with them, or sending a word of prayer, or giving them a call? Real relationships have been replaced by things. There's a disconnect, so to speak. Love for country has also taken a backseat, and self-centeredness is the order of the day, putting the citizens under bondage while the leadership line their already filled pockets to no end. That's the fashion. How about giving that community a secure environment to live in? Good roads, clean drinking water, quality healthcare centers, a proper welfare system, and good, affordable schools. True love is patient. True love is kind. It forgives. Let the flowers, the cakes, the chocolates, candlelight dinners and gifts take a back seat for once. And let us demonstrate the real and true meaning of what it means to love and to be loved to one another.
February 14 coming up. This is the message.
Yes.
You understand? And
it's just...
And the truth really is this, that the older you get, the more you realize that material things don't really have value. Unfortunately, that's the case. It's like the typical cliches, when you are younger, you feel like, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to be able to eat anything I want. Mm-hmm. And then you grow old, and then you realize that you can't really eat anything that you want, because reality is that age is a scam on you when you are younger. Mm-hmm. So people should realize the value of relationship. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
There's this Yoruba proverb that talks about that is
people are my covering,
clothes and covering. And I realized that that for you to understand true relationships, true value of true love, you need to understand the value of spending time together,
and
talking. So and this is one lesson that the current generation, the Gen Z generation, they don't understand, to a large extent, and not knowing that spending time together, looking you in the eye, touching you, asking you, all those things, they are at the same, they are like emotional investments that goes, very, very fast. So, big up to you.
Thank you. Zumah. Okay. No, let me hear from Zumah first. Let me hear from Zumah. Let our chest come down. I'm listening.
Okay. I love love, by the way. And I think and love is a beautiful thing.
Yep.
But when we, and I feel like this generation, we've lost the focus on what love should be. Love is focused on consumerism and materialism. What can this person do for me? Rather than thinking of what can I do to make this person's life better. Love is about service. But to us, love is about taking, not even giving. So it's important to understand that we are where we are today, like you said, because we've chosen to be self-centered and self-focused. I know we all have our baggages, our trauma when it comes to love, but it's important for you to be mindful that who you are should not change because you've had a certain experience. You should always retain your core and your essence. And like Yinka said, I'm very much aligned. We have physical touch, quality time, but you forgot forms of affirmation. Because you say words of affirmation, they will tell you, no, I can take words to the market. It has to be fonts of affirmation. I'm like, okay, I'm not from this generation. Fonts of affirmation. Cashback's love.
That's a new one.
We need to find a way to see how we can separate, relationship that has potential, that has connection, and the one that's just vibes and inshallah. Because they're two different things. If you approach a girl based on the fact that she's beautiful, she's a fine person, right?
Are you speaking from experience?
I'm speaking from...
But why are you asking him whether he's speaking from experience?
Okay, sorry.
I'm speaking from general data.
Okay, well,
right?
Is it AI source? Is it AI source data?
Yeah, so there's a huge difference, right? And I do not in any way, wouldn't judge the ladies who definitely know that this guy is here because he likes what he sees, right? He likes my personality.
That's okay. Fair enough.
Do you understand? I would request, right, if I was her, because I know that you don't have the right intention to marry me. And I might not even be interested. So my own is...
What can I get?
What can I get? Because I know that this is not serious. But also, the other part is a relationship, a really good relationship that has fundamentals, right? It's a whole different ballgame. As the man, it is your duty, your full duty to make your woman happy.
Come on, Bright.
At all. See, the thing is, if you're not ready to make her happy,
leave her alone.
Then free her.
Go ahead.
Like women that are actually in love, right? They don't want too many things. So
God will bless you. God will bless you.
You want free. Any girl that's taxing you back to back do not like you. Let me just tell you that, guys. Any girl that's taxing you back to back don't like you. She just wants what she can get. The woman that actually really like you, It's different. Like they care about you. They care about your mental health. They care about
your finances.
I'm telling you, and if it has something that you know that is there, give your all as a man. Make her happy. You know.
I love you, Bright.
Mismanage your funds on her.
O'Shea.
What is that? Mismanage your funds.
I agree with you, Bright, in a way, and I don't agree with you.
Okay. Here we go.
So I agree with you. Somebody who loves, it's not even about a woman who care for you and do not want you spending too much. The part that I don't agree with you to an extent is where you say it's the job of the man to make the woman happy. It's not anybody's job to make anybody happy. The first important love is self-love. So you find out that people, they don't love themselves. So we're brought up not to even think about ourselves. We don't love ourselves. We've not had relationship with ourselves. So we don't even know what love is. Even when it's staring you in the face, you're thinking, it's when I get this or this other material thing, this one, that I will feel that joy, I will feel that happiness. First of all, people need to love themselves. You already have it. You're okay with it. You accept yourself unconditionally. You know who you are. So anybody that is coming into your life is supposed to add to it. Not that that's when you're finding love. If that's when you're finding it, you're going to have problems along the way. Love is not expensive. You understand? It doesn't need, material things. You're not going to be going out there. No, it's not. I have a
Love is not expensive.
I have a Twitter thread that I did on that. Love is not expensive. I had some years I used to focus on love and all of that. I'm a love.
You love love.
I love love.
I'm a die-hard romantic, you understand? And those conversations, just having fun.
I'm a lover girl.
Like, which day was it? No, we're driving with my husband, and I was like, playing with him. I'm driving, I'm like, God, the things we used to do.
This Aisha.
You're younger. No, I won't go there. Go down there. Something has to be exceeded. But on the more serious note, it's just the little things. It's not about, and I think we need to begin to talk about that more. So when people see love, they're always like, oh, you're lucky if you're in a happy, healthy relationship. It's not just luck. It takes a lot of work. It takes you knowing yourself, what you're going to accept, what you will not accept, and your boundaries. What are your boundaries? Many people forget to put that boundaries, and then people just keep taking them for granted, and it goes on. But I will end by saying that if you're afraid of losing love, you never had it in the first place.
Yeah.
Because if you have it,
now wow.
You know.
Please repeat. If you
are afraid of losing love, you never had it in the first place. Whether you're afraid of losing someone, you never had it in the first place. If you have it, you are okay. You know you're secure. You know you're loved. The little things, as much as I get a call and it says, have I told you I love you today?
Hey, God, when?
When last did I tell you I love you? And then he says, for me, the one that really busts my head is that, what can I do to make life easier?
Excuse me.
Becomes a
He's the king.
Do you understand?
You understand? The king.
And when somebody submits to you, it means that you have to take that responsibility to make sure that you don't mistreat that submission. So where I'm coming from is
Brighton.
Once that happens, you have to take full responsibility and know that it's your job, your full-time job.
Right, I want to come to your wedding because the woman who will marry you. See,
one lucky woman.
Where are the in-laws?
Well,
The place at the table in-laws.
Yes, we need our table. The woman says funds of affirmation. Aisha says love is not expensive. I'm saying people got me questioning where is the love? True love truly has value. Aisha, does it mean that what many of us here are experiencing is fake love?
You probably know my answer to that, Kate. A disconnect in our hearts and our language of love, the dysfunction in our homes and society. Are you beginning to see the connection? The home makes up the society, which in turn makes up the nation. One of the things we often neglect to connect is how oppression within our homes give enabling environment for oppression to occur in our society. The family is the smallest unit in the society and also the building block of society. A society is often a reflection of its family units. Do families practice respect, rule of law, democracy? Do we have tyrants who hold the family to ransom and met out all sorts of injustice and oppression? I've always said that the first set of dictators Nigerians came across are their parents. So they have been well conditioned to accept all sorts of atrocities. It is said Nigerians can endure anything. With a lifelong training, who wouldn't? My advocacy is on spousal abuse, especially men who abuse their wives. They call it masculinity. What is most disheartening is seeing young men who should know and do better embracing this ideology. They see women as lesser beings created only to do their biddings. They even make fun of those who are respectful to their wives and call them simps. Men secure in their manhood don't go around screaming for respect. They know it is a given. Respect begets respect. And these are the men who are treated like kings by their wives. These men use their strength to protect, not oppress their wives. And in return, they get premium baby treatment. Hey, Oshe. How do you expect to treat your wives as lesser beings and expect that when those who rule you treat you as lesser beings, that these women whom you have treated badly will have pity or empathy for you? They wouldn't. In fact, it has become normal to them. And so we see nothing wrong with you getting a bit of the medicine you constantly feed them. Next time you want to abuse your wife because you are the head, remember, politicians are also waiting to deal with you because they are the heads. And you have no one to fight alongside with you.
So, that is
Bang,
deep.
bang.
That is deep. I remember doing a stage play, also it's called The Vagina Monologues. It's by Eve Ensler. We've not done it in a while. And there's a narration that said, 3 people died in that accident. 3 people and 1 woman.
Oh.
It speaks to a woman not being of much value. 3 people and 1 woman. You know, so the home is a microcosm of the society, the larger society. So whatever goes, so when we complain about leaders, they didn't drop from the sky. They came from inside a place where they are not taught capacity, competence and character and all the things that are needed. And even if they were taught, somewhere along the line, they lost it and there was nobody to bring them back.
You know, it goes further than just the family. There's something, I remember one of those advocacy where I was talking about my dad. And when I went back home, I had a conversation with my dad about how I was, you know, how I was treated when I was young. And the most emotional conversation ever, because he looked at me and he said, it's what I knew. It's how I was brought up. It's what I knew that I did for you, right? So the question is, where is it coming from and where does it end? At what point do we break the circle where you get to now understand that just because, I mean, how does it even work? Because like you said, it's lifelong learning. You've been through this process from your dad, your granddad, and then you pass it on to the next person, and that's all you know. But at what point are we able to say, how do we break this ideology and start actually becoming leaders of our home as men,
right,
first of all?
If I just quickly come in, I think it's us having that self-awareness. So you look back at how were you brought up as a child? What were the things that you didn't like? And then you change them. Then the next generation also do the same thing. There are mistakes you make, there are things that you do. Like, for example, like when my son turned 18, I had to sit him down and I sought for his forgiveness. Because there were so many ways that I didn't protect him. My son is dyslexic. There was a lot of beatings he got because he wasn't, and it wasn't his fault. I didn't, so I knew about his dyslexia at the time when he was like maybe 3 But they kept telling me, oh, Aisha, you read too much. It's not about this. And then you allowed, you know, he was beaten by like teachers, by lesson teachers and all of that. So I didn't protect him as much as I could. My husband is the one, he has never laid his hand on his children. Never. He doesn't, I did beat him. So when they grew up, I apologized. So like you said, this is what I knew, what I taught. Yeah. If I go back now, I wouldn't do that because there's a way that you can talk to a child without really having to lay your hands on that child. But it's not the kind of spanking, of course, not the kind of beating that you're wounding the child and all of that. So I think that's the way, us accepting the mistakes we made.
So the first step is like you said, trying to understand the things that, because there's some of these things already in your subconscious. It's already there. So the first step, I mean, for young people who are not fathers yet, is to start unlearning and relearning. Because the thing about mindset is the fact that most of the things that you are is made up of not just the home, but the environment. Because growing up, my dad, I probably calculated the amount of time I saw my dad. He's out early in the morning, he's back late at night. The only time I see him is probably during the weekend, Saturday, right?
Sunday to church.
Sunday to church. But like, if you check, most times I spent with people within my environment, right? So how do we make sure that it goes beyond the home into the environment? And how can people start taking responsibility to say, everything that I have learned within my lifetime, there is actually more information. I need to unlearn it and learn something new. But it begins with what you're saying, which is acknowledging that there's a problem in the first place.
Zumah, parenting is a lifelong journey of self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-forgiveness. I think the older generation, they did the best they could have done with the limited resources and information they had at that time. And I'm glad that a lot of younger parents are being more intentional. We need to understand that our leaders are a reflection of our society. Our society is a reflection of our homes. And whatever it is you want to see in the society, you have to emulate it in your home. When people ask me, why are you the way you are? I'm like, okay, my parents. Like, they literally just, whatever it is, whoever it is you choose to be, they're always there to support and offer guidance. Not just support and say, do whatever it is you want. They will offer guidance, tell you these are the consequences to each of the options you want. But if you still decide to go ahead with this, this is our support. When people go, why are you like, because I have a daughter. And I need her to understand that you should be able to live life on your own terms.
Yes.
My mother is living her life on her own terms. So it's important to understand that where we're coming from reflects how we navigate life.
So it was Abraham Lincoln that said the philosophy of the classroom in one generation is the philosophy of the government in the next generation. So I want to tweak that a bit and just change it to be the philosophy of the family in one generation will be the philosophy of the same family, of the family from there in the next generation, which is why we find some of these things, with some of our children reoccurring. I had a conversation with my siblings recently when I was talking about my own parents, because I'm the first.
I'm the first too.
I'm the first.
I'm the first one.
I can't even say the number. I'm the 12th.
I'm the first, and as the first of my parents, and my parents, came up from this environment where love was tough. They expressed love through toughness, and I still have PTSD recurring some of those expressions of love from my mom. But I realized that we have 5 of us. As they had more kids, they soften, and they were better. But I still have that trauma.
Of course, you are the first receiving recipient.
So I had to forgive my parents, but just say, they didn't know better. Okay, so I was their experiment, all right, and in parenting, and they did what they did. But I must make sure that I don't do the same thing. To my own children. So we have to be very, very intentional. Yes. Otherwise, we see what happened now with the Japa community. A lot of the Japa community, the wives The women will get to the UK
Yeah, with the children.
with the children and then start dealing with the guys.
You know, as we were speaking, I just remember the story you had shared here about you as a child saving your money and going to buy bread and the beatings,
remember?
you know, that you got. It's just a whole lot. But I think for me, like I always say, the generation after, just look at what can be changed, what you wanted changed as a child, and then just do it better. I'll say it again to our husbands listening. If you want to get the premium baby treatment, use your strength to protect and not oppress your wives.
Aisha, I'll never understand why this isn't a given, just like the paradox of youth and unemployment, which points to the waste and even abuse of strength and capacity. Let's talk about youth unemployment. Not the numbers, not the government stats, but the real problem. Ask any young Nigerian today why they are struggling to find work, and you hear a common answer: there are no jobs. But is that entirely true? Walk into any construction site, any mechanic workshop, any beauty salon, there's work happening. The real issue isn't the lack of work. It is that we don't have a structured system to connect people to it. 92.7% of employment in Nigeria comes from the informal trade sector. That means a vast majority of Nigerians are working outside structured career path with no formal employment, no standardized payment, and no growth opportunities. How do trade workers get hired in Nigeria? Let's start with that. Recommendation or phone numbers pasted on street poles. If you don't know someone, you're stuck. And what happens when you actually get some work? There's no set wages, no career progression, no guarantee of steady income. This is why young people stay away. There's no dignity, no security, and no future in an industry that doesn't recognize growth. Everyone talks about training as the solution, but we've trained. My company has trained thousands already. Yet, training alone doesn't guarantee employment. We need more than skills acquisition. We need a structured pipeline where trained workers can actually enter the workforce and grow. This is what we've tried to solve with the Skillers platform. A structured way to formalize skilled labor. We've set hourly rates, square meter pricing, and clear service structure. But even with that, our biggest challenge has been on onboarding artisans who lack certification, a formal rating system, or even basic record of their work. There's talent everywhere, but no structure to recognize and elevate it. So how do we fix this? We need proper certification system, fair wages, career progression path, and technology-driven hiring platform. And beyond that, we need and we must change how society sees trade workers. We must celebrate skills, showcase their value, and inspire the next generation. The future isn't just about having skills. It is about making skills work for the people who have them.
For me, I think this is not just a government thing. This is what an individual, private can do. I mean, like, we need a Craigslist. If I'm listening to what you're talking about, like you rightly said, how do you find workers that you need them to do stuff for you? It's like you look at the polls as you're driving through. Oh, nobody's true. The plumber needed. Call this number. Or you ask your friend, who services your AC? Because there's no, for lack of a better word, yellow pages. You know, I don't think government is responsible for that. We can have someone actually take that over. And with the proliferation of social media, it's something that can be found online, but then we also need structure to vet the people so that you're not carrying an umbrella into your house.
Regulations, government has a major role to play.
I know they do.
For example, when you look at like places like France or America, there are structures in place where you need work permits for you to be able to work. That work permit comes with the fact that you have to have certifications, certain certifications, they actually even grade you. So on your work permit, you are level 1 or a level 2 or level 3. So there's career progression.
No, I agree. I'm just saying we shouldn't leave it to government on this one.
But government needs to build that structure for private sector to plug into. For example, Uber. Uber works because there's already an infrastructure that makes it work. But imagine how many thousand people jumped into the taxi business because of Uber. It created employment for a lot of people. One platform.
We need a national vocational qualification that is linked to expertise level and also that incorporates both entrepreneurial and artisanal skill grading. A large, it is available in the UK, where say you are a plumber, you're either MVQ level 1, MVQ level 2, MVQ level 3. Yeah. So when someone is hiring you, they have an idea of what your wage bill is likely to be. Regarding where artisans get jobs, there are a bunch of technological platforms that you can go on. I know about Workman, I know about Artisanal.
Please tell me, because I don't know.
You know, that you can just go on and check for artisans, and most of them are meant to be pre-vetted. I don't know if they are pre-vetted.
There you go.
Yeah, everything is at your own risk, you know. But I totally agree with your advocacy. You're doing a good job, but it's killers, right?
Yes! Oh, you people should watch, I'm sorry, you people need to watch Bright's show on YouTube. He said to me, what's my own with building? But
there's something that you said, Bright. You said how does society see trade workers? You know, society doesn't need to see trade workers in any way. What trade workers need is that when they do the thing, they're able to afford 24/7 electricity, they have good lives, good roads to travel with, their children are going to good schools, they can afford affordable, you know, healthcare system, they can travel when they want to. That's enough. And so in a way, society will also see them. The biggest problem we have in Nigeria is that for you to have just a decent life, you need a lot of money, and which is the problem. With someone who is like a mechanic or a plumber, okay, they call it plumber. They remove the B. Why are you putting
it's
the
English
B?
language.
Don't mind it. Anyway,
it's a plumber.
Silence.
Why are you putting it if you don't want to pronounce it?
I wonder.
So our own plumber in the UK, you see them, you know, they have a good life. Yeah. You understand? And then if you look at Francophone countries, you're going too far when you look at US or UK. Within our own, even with West Africa, the Francophone countries, they have something that they do. You see their artisans. Honestly, I will tell you, I don't know whether they'll say it's not patriotic. Most times, sometimes, I would rather hire some of them than our Nigerians. There's this thing about quality, about, you know, finishing that we seem to lack. But they do, and they have some sort of certification. You don't just jump in and start doing something, or you're starting with your guard. The next thing, you give yourself freedom because you want to go and start earning money. I think those are also, you know, some of the problems that we have. But there's quite a lot of money in there. It's just that people don't understand. And sometimes what you have with the artisans is that they don't know how to manage money. And I remember when I was doing haulage business in around 2008 and all of that, it got to a place where my drivers take 10% of whatever we're being paid for that load, yet you still have problems with them because they don't just understand it to make that quick money, take that extra money out there. And because we have a judicial system that doesn't work very well, they can just eat your money, take your money, do whatever, and run, and nothing.
I had a recent, very funny but traumatic experience with an artisan.
Ooh.
I had a bad key. You know, just a bad key.
For your car?
No,
the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know any carpenter. Okay, so I have a steady electrician, you know, that can call, but I didn't have any carpenter. So I was driving out one day. I asked the security guy in the estate, I said, do you know any carpenter? He said, oh, I know a guy.
I know someone.
I know a guy.
Same thing that, you know, the same thing that you would do, and anybody.
Yeah.
Said, okay, call the person. So they called the person. The person shows up, and I said, okay, that's a door. Now it's a security door, original, came with all the parts. So the only thing he was supposed to do was just change the key inside.
You need a new door.
So I left him and to do his work, and you know, I was doing something. I was in a meeting, virtual meeting. So by the time I came up, I was like, what happened here? The guy had butchered the door.
Yes.
And I asked the guy, what do you do for a living?
That's first.
What do you do for a living?
That's campaign
said is a panel beater.
Yeah, I mean, you probably beat the door for sure.
Now I get it. I understand what you did to the door. You know, and the point there is we don't have a platform where we can go to and then see who are the certified
Yeah, that's what I was
professionals
saying.
in this field. And we need that platform.
We do.
And to do it, we need regulation.
Yes, which is
We
what
need
you were
regulation.
talking about.
Standardization.
Sorry, so I literally, I started this same platform in 2020.
The
during
Builder
COVID.
Show, that's the name.
I could, like, the reason why we can't progress with it is because I can't,
Enforce anything.
Like, I cannot, like, put a platform out there to the world and have people who are not qualified do things.
Yes.
And I cannot be the one to be certifying people.
No.
So I'm just like, you know what? We have 500 people, we're done, and we just work for big companies, and we just outsource to like big projects. Government needs to start identifying those platforms and supporting them, but also put policy and regulation in place to make sure that for you to be able to work in this country,
yeah.
We need
any
so
job
and
that
so.
you need to have certification, you need to have a permit, you need to have all. If not, we will never get it right.
Bright, can we take this to the National Assembly?
Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
And have a law passed around that and put a
I agree.
structure together.
Yeah. As Zumah says, 2025 is a year of seizing the day. If we choose to play ostrich, then let us know that we have squandered our opportunities. Pure and simple. Thank you for being part of our discussion today at the place at the table. We look forward to you being with us again. Same time, same channel next week. Till then, love still. Love.